to another video. Today's video is again chosen by my Instagram stories. I was torn this week between doing a video about my top 10 DIY wedding tips and doing a walkthrough of my binder that I made myself. So I asked on my stories, and while it was a pretty close vote, most of you decided you would like me to do a tour of my DIY wedding binder. Now I know this won't be to everyone's taste, not everyone's going to be interested in this, but I know there is a lot of brides out there that'll be like me who couldn't find a wedding planner that was giving them everything that they needed without a load of other stuff that they didn't need. So this is going to be my tour of my binder. If this isn't something that you're interested in, it's not your kind of thing, and that's fine, but this is something I'm actually looking forward to filming because I'm really proud of this binder that I created, and there's obviously people out there that will be interested in it because this is what they've asked for. So let's just get started. I'm going to have one camera filming me and another camera filming the binder so that you're going to be able to get a proper view of everything. I am obviously going to cover up any information that I don't want put out in the public, but you'll still be able to see everything that I've included and how I've done everything that's in this binder. So I'm going to start with the actual binder itself. This was just a really cheap A5 binder from Ryman in white. It has the inserts in the front and the sides so you can put in whatever you want. I designed our own front based on a Cath Kidston design. I actually found a basic square of the Cath Kidston Mickey and Minnie design just on Google Images, and I used Photoshop to change the colours to match in with our colour scheme. Of course, I had to have Disney on our binder. We have got all those Disney touches in our wedding, and being a big Disney fan, I just think having the Disney on it makes it a little bit more fun and a little bit more tailored towards us. So I made it in the purples to match in with our colour scheme, and I've made an insert for the front that says our wedding planner, and I've also got the matching pattern down the side as well, just to keep everything the same. Then when you open the binder, you get to the first cover, which is basically just an exact copy of what I put on the front, just in a slightly smaller size so that it fits perfectly inside. Everything in here I have sat and painstakingly hole punched myself, piece by piece, to put it in, but the whole thing has been really easy to do, to be honest, probably a lot easier than you think, and it's a good way to make sure you've got everything included that you want in. So we've got our wedding planner on the front, and then when you turn over, you get your first divider. So the dividers that I went for were just wedding planner, so that gives you your basic details of the wedding and the vendors, budget, things like that, but we'll go through that. Then the next one we have ceremony and reception, wardrobe and decoration, guest information and extras. So these dividers were really easy made. I just used some white card cut to the A5 size and then printed out another copy of the design that I used for the front cover and just put a stripe of it down the right hand side so that it would be on the edge of the binder, and then created these little semicircle tabs that I printed out just from Word with what I wanted the tab to say in a matching colour, and then cut them out and stuck them on underneath the pattern tab so that you couldn't see the join. Really easy to do. So in this first wedding planner section, as I say, we have all the basic details. So we've got the first page that is just the wedding. So this is where I've got my date, time, place, reception, best men, maid of honour, bridesmaids, ushers, readers and witnesses. This just means I can keep track of all the basic details, and then if anyone asks me anything, I've got it right there at the front. Next we have our checklist. So of course this will be different for everybody depending on what kind of wedding you're having and how much you're having involved, but I've included things on here such as setting the date, booking your venues, guest lists, buying the suits, the wedding dress, bridesmaid dresses, DJ, flowers, hair and makeup, making the favours because that was something that I knew I was doing myself, the seating plan, buying gifts for the wedding party, booking the honeymoon, and then each thing I can just tick off as we've done it. Next I have my monthly planner. So this originally started off as a 12-month planner. Then every time we had to postpone the wedding, I reprinted it as an 18-month planner, a 20-month planner, and now it's pretty much ended up being a 24-month planner with a big gap in the middle where I wasn't doing any planning because there was nothing to plan because of COVID and the wedding being so far away. So this, I've used half a page for each month. So it starts way back in June 2019, and I just make a little note in each month of anything that I know I want to do that month, if I've got any wedding related appointments booked. I also used it when I was looking at booking dates to go bridesmaid dress shopping. I could make a note of any dates that certain bridesmaids weren't available, were going on holiday, things like that, just so that when I was trying to make appointments, I knew exactly who was available when, and I didn't end up booking something that someone couldn't go to or double booking my appointments. This goes through all the way with 2 months on each page up until we get to January of 2022. So obviously now our wedding is in May 2022. So from the start of that year, I've allowed myself a full page for each month because I know there's going to be a lot more to do in the last few months leading up to the wedding. I found this section really helpful. Just like I say, it means you've got everything that you've got booked, everything that you need to do. You don't end up forgetting anything or overlooking anything. And it's just nice to be able to see how much you've got to accomplish each month, just so you don't end up feeling overwhelmed and trying to pack everything into too short a space of time. After that, I've got my useful contacts pages. So this is where I keep the details of all of our vendors. So the reception venue, the church, photographer, cars, guest transport, flowers, our videographer, where we've got the dresses from, the DJ, every single person that I could possibly need to contact, as far as the seamstress that's altering the dresses, are all listed in here with as much contact information as possible. So their name, their address if I have it, phone number, email address. Then I know I can definitely get in touch with anyone that I need to really easily. The next bit is my budget planner. So while we didn't exactly set ourselves a strict budget of this is how much we're going to spend on the wedding, or this is how much we're going to allow for this particular vendor or anything like that, I did want to keep track of how much we were spending and also how much we paid each person and how much there was left to pay. So on this page I have the item, the deposit, the balance due, and then a section to write down when we've paid it. So we've got things like the reception venue with our deposit that we've paid, then we can put how much balance is left to pay, and then we can also write down the date that we finally paid the balance. Just then, if ever there was any queries where a vendor was mistaken and said, oh, you still owe me this much money, I've got it wrote down here of, well, can you just double check your payments because we paid you this much on this date. Just makes me feel more organised, and I know there can't be any confusion, and it's good to have all of the money side of things in one place. From there, I've then gone on to my next divider of ceremony and reception. Again, each of these dividers was just made the same as the first one, but with each tab, I moved it slightly further down so that you can see them all at the side of the binder. In this section, we have the ceremony details, so I've just left a couple of lined pages to write anything that needs wrote down for the ceremony. So for example, just to give you an idea, I've got the hymns and readings that we've decided on and which specific ones they are, who's going to be doing the readings. I've got wrote down the time of the wedding and what time we would need people to be arriving for. I've got wrote down now when we've rebooked the wedding for and then rebooked again, and then I've also got a note of things that we need to check now that we've moved the date and things like that. After that, I've then included any little bits and pieces that I've collected that I wanted to keep based on the ceremony. So I've got a little leaflet that we got sent when we were invited to our marriage session with the church that just gives you some basic details about wedding arrangements and church requirements and things like that at our church that we're getting married in. I then have the letter that we got sent inviting us to the marriage session and the details that they gave us of what time it would be and what would be included, all that sort of thing. I know you don't have to keep all this sort of thing in your wedding planner, but because mine was a binder anyway and I could add what I wanted to it, I thought it was easiest just to keep everything in one place, and then I know I'm not going to be losing anything. Next, I have some papers that the priest wrote for us. I was a bit overwhelmed about the idea of making the order of service. I wanted to make them myself because I was making pretty much everything else. and I definitely wanted to have orders of service to be able to give to our guests at the church. But being someone who doesn't often go to church and hasn't really been to that many church weddings, I didn't have a clue what to put in it, what the order was actually going to be, what to include. So one of the priests very kindly wrote down for me the order of everything so that I knew what to put in it. So I've got that in here just so I can refer back to it when I was making them. Next we have the same as the church, we've got 2 blank pages just for the reception. So basically included anything that the people that own the reception venue have told us, what time people need to be there, what the order of the day will be once we get to the reception, when we're going to do the speeches, a note of what balance we've got left to pay, any questions that we needed to ask them. I wrote down in here and then left a gap to fill the answers in once we'd got them answered. And then I have their wedding brochure, which I've hole punched down the side to put in. This gives all the details of booking your reception with them, how much everything costs, what optional extras they have available, all that sort of thing, just so I've got it to hand. Then I have a page for our readings, again 2 lined pages, just to make a note of what the readings are, who we're going to have reading them, and why I've chose those particular readings. I want to keep this binder as not just a wedding planner to use until the wedding and then get rid of. I want to keep this so that in 20, 30, 40 years, if I want to, I can look back on it and see everything that went into our wedding and why we chose to do things the way we did and why we picked certain things. So I think having a note of why we've picked the readings that we have will be really nice to have in all those years' time. Then I've got a copy of the readings that we've chosen. So again, the priest was actually really kind and sent us out some photocopies of readings that he would suggest because we were struggling a little bit to pick them. So I've highlighted on his photocopies the ones that we've decided to have and kept a copy in here. This way, when I'm sending copies out to the people that are doing them, I know I'm getting the right version and that they're going to have a good idea of what they're doing before the actual day. Next in this section, I have included a part for our wedding cards. This is where the binder starts to differ slightly with this information. So first, I've included some photos from our car's website. I've got a page for the car that will be taking me and my uncle to the church and will then be taking me and my fiance to the reception. And then I've got a page with a couple of photos for the other car that we're using for the rest of the wedding party to get them to the church and the reception. Then I've got the same double-lined page for any information such as quotes that we originally got from different people and then who we've decided to go with, the cars that we've picked from them, the timings for picking people up and who's going in what car, all of that sort of thing, just so it's all to hand. I've then also got the email that I received confirming the electronic payment of our deposit, and I also have in the back in a wallet the actual paper receipt that they gave us when we paid it. Next, I've got the same thing but for the guest transport, a double-sided line page. This is where I've kept track of the quotes that we got, who we decided to book with, any details for the guest transport, and then I also kept a tally chart of who wanted the bus from the church to the reception and then who wanted it at night after the reception was finished. I've also got our paper receipt from those stapled in here, confirming the deposit that we paid and when we paid it. Next we have the music, so I've got again a double page just plain lined. This includes all of our guest song choices and the song that we want for our first dance. It also includes who we've booked with and how much it was going to be, what time they needed to be there to set up and all that sort of thing. This will need to change now slightly because sadly our DJ has decided to close his business, so we're going to have to look for a new one. So all of that information will then go on there. Then we have the food. So this is the sit-down meal that we're having at our reception and then the buffet in the evening as well. All the details of what the food includes and how much it is. And then I also kept a track for our original date of who had picked which meal and if there was any sort of guest food intolerances or anything like that. Then I have the cake. So any details of what we want on our cake, what we like, flavours, how many people we needed to cater for and who we've booked with. I then kept a page for some photos of things that I liked on cakes that I found online and a little note about what it was I liked about them, just so that we've got something to show our cake maker to give her a rough idea of what it is we're looking for. I've made sure to include a couple of cakes that she's done, just so I can say to her, this is what I liked on this one and this is what I liked on this one that you've already made. I do also then have a copy from the reception's brochure of what's included in the wedding breakfast and the buffet, just so that we know exactly what we're getting and I can keep referring back to it. Then we're on to the next divider. Hope you're still with me. This is the wardrobe and decoration. So this was the really fun bit of how we wanted to decorate the church, the reception, everyone's outfits, accessories, flowers. This was probably my favourite bit of the binder. So I've got 3 photos here of different styles of dresses that I liked, so that I had a rough idea of the kind of things I liked or didn't like before I went dress shopping. When I went dress shopping, I actually thought the dress that I'd picked was nothing like what I imagined I'd be getting. I thought I had this idea in my mind of what I would end up with, but looking back at the photos I've got here, there is a lot on these photos that is very similar to the dress that I've ended up with, so maybe I did know what I wanted all along and just didn't realise it. I then have the same as everything else, a double page just with lines to keep track of all the details. So this has got things like where I've got my dress from, how much it cost, the deposit paid, how much was left to pay, the designer of the dress, and then I've also got listed here the jewellery that I'm using. I've got shoes, accessories, when my dress was due to arrive, details about how long they would hold it for, anything to do with what I'll be wearing on the wedding day goes in this section. I then have my receipt from paying my deposit. I then have the letter that I received in the post to say that my wedding dress had arrived, and then the receipt for the balance that was paid and when it was paid. Next we have the men. So again, I've got some photos of different suits and accessories for the men and a little note about what I liked about them and what we were looking for. Then I've got the double lined page again, just with some details of different suits that we'd seen that we liked the look of and accessories where we could get them that would match in with the bridesmaid dresses and the colour scheme. I then had a list of men's sizes, who needed what in the pants, the jacket and the waistcoat, because we did buy them all separately even though they were part of the same suit. I've then got details about accessories such as cufflinks, shoes, tie pins, anything like that is all in there. Then the same for the bridal party, so bridesmaids, flower girl, page boy, a few photos and some notes about what I like about each one, and then a double page just lined for any appointments that were booked for trying on dresses, where I'd ordered them from, what style they were, how much they'd cost, details about what shoes and things like that I wanted the bridesmaids to have, all of that in one place. I've also now added a little section in here for our puppy, because I do really want, hopefully, for him to be able to come up just for half an hour when we're having some photos took at the church, and I want to get him a little bow tie of some kind just to match in. I just think it'll be really cute for him to be on a couple of photos, and we'll obviously also need someone to look after him for the day and the night, so I'm going to put details of that in here as well, just so it's all in one place for the day. Then we have the flowers, so ideas of flowers that we liked for bouquets and buttonholes, and again notes about what I liked about them. Then for the reception venue, the bridesmaids, accessories, hair accessories, and then the church, what sort of floral arrangements we wanted in there, and again notes for what we liked about them. I then got the same double page of lines just to make details of what we were having, how much everything was going to cost, deposit that was paid, where we were getting them from, any detail to do with anything floral, all in one place. I then have my hair ideas following on from that, so things that I would like done for my hair and then for the bridesmaids' hair. They're all pretty similar in design, but I just wanted to have a rough idea of different things that were along the same lines that I could show our hair and makeup people, just to give them an idea of what I'm looking for. Again, then I've got my makeup ideas. I'm going for a very natural look for the makeup, so it's all along those sort of lines. And then again, double line page, just for all the details of what we want and who we're booked with. I'm going to put in there, once we've got our hair and makeup trial rebooked, details of what time they'll be arriving on the day, who'll be getting what done when, everything all in one place. Then we have the room decoration, so everything that we were having to decorate at the reception venue, and things like the guest book, any welcome signs, the seating plan, all of this went in here for an idea of what we wanted and what I wanted to make, because I was making quite a lot of this. Table decoration, so the centerpieces, the place settings, the table names, all of that together. And then I've actually got 4 pages for this one just because there was so much, lined with all the details of what we were wanting, where we were getting it from, how much things were going to cost, if I was making things myself, what materials I needed to buy and what I needed to make. Then, keeping in with the table decoration theme, we follow on to the favours, different favours that I had in mind and what we've ended up using, things that I needed to buy because I was making the favours myself, how many of each thing we would need, what I was including, again a double page spread. The beauty about making this myself is that it means if I've only done a single page or a double page for something and I find I need to include more info, I can just print myself off another page and put it in here with it, and I can slot in as many of those pages as I need without feeling like things are going to fall out by slotting bits of paper in an actual pre-made wedding planner. Now we're on to guest information. This is the more simple section that there isn't really a lot to tell you. So I've just got a basic guest list of who we invited for the day and the evening. Then I've got guest information, so their addresses for sending out their save the dates, their invitations, and now for sending out change of dates. I've also then got just some little tick boxes on each person for invitation sent, RSVP received, now change of date sent, RSVP received, and for the thank you card being sent after the wedding. Every person that we invited has a section on here just so that we could keep track of everybody. So this takes up quite a chunk of room in the binder. I now added a section for the date change so that I can list everybody and just tick whether they're still coming or whether they aren't, just so that I've got it in a really easy place to access. Because originally I had a list of who'd RSVP'd yes and no, but obviously now with a change of date that could all change, and I want to be able to know exactly who's coming just so I know for numbers, for buses, buffet, things like that. Then in the back of here I've got the seating plan, so I've split it into sections for the top table and then each table after that. For who's going to be on that table and also what the name of that table is going to be. Currently at the moment I've changed that to all just be in pencil, because until we send out our change of dates we don't know for sure who's coming, so our original seating plan might have to change. And at the very back I have an extra section, so this is just for anything else that I needed to include that didn't fit in with the other tabs. So we've got our photography with a double page for that. This just gives details of who we've booked with, how much it's costing, what deposit we've paid, everything that's included in the package that we've booked. And then I've also made a note now of the fact that we've booked a pre-wedding photo shoot for this year and when that is and how much that's going to cost. I've also made a note of things I want to ask when we meet with the photographers. I'm going to list in here any specific photos that we would really like included on our day, and I've got plenty of room for any other details that I need to write down. Then again the same, but for the videographer, so who we've booked with, how much, what's included, any questions, any information I need kept there. I've then got any emails we exchanged with photographers or messages with videographer, just that I've got it all in one place. I've also got the letter that our photographers sent to confirm that they'd received our deposit, which I thought that was really good because then you've got a physical copy in black and white. I've then got a section for the stationery where I can write down anything that I needed to buy to make the invitations, change of dates, save the dates, all that sort of thing can go in one place. Then I have the accommodation section. So there is rooms at our reception venue that we've booked for the night of the wedding, and I've got a list here of what rooms are available, who's booked what room, how much it's costing, who's paid, who hasn't paid, and when we need all the money by to be able to pay the reception for the rooms. Again, double lined page for that, really easy to make. Any emails and messages that we've exchanged with our reception venue regarding the accommodation, and just a bit out of their brochure at the back about the accommodation they have and what types of rooms they have. This last bit is something that a lot of people maybe won't want to include, but I've put a page in the back just about the date change and everything that's happened. So I started this the first time that we postponed our wedding, and made a little note about why we'd had to postpone, what was going on in the world, how I felt about it, and then I've added to it each time we've postponed since then, and I've got plenty of room to add more on as and when I need to about things that have changed in the world, things that have affected our wedding. As I said, I really want to keep this binder to be able to look back on in 10, 20, 50 years, and I just thought it's such a unique situation to have to postpone your wedding 3-4 times because of what's happened. And I really wanted to have notes about how it affected us, how everything made us feel, just to be able to read it and see that we actually got through it and we did get married in the end, and that we overcome all the obstacles that got thrown in our way on the way to getting married. I just think it's a really nice thing to have in the back there, just as a little reminder of everything that happened. Then I just have some basic notes pages, so this way I can include anything extra that I need to write down and that I want to make sure I don't forget, things that need bought, things that need changed, just any extra little notes. Then I've included some plastic wallets. These were all just bought off eBay, really cheap, really easy to get your hands on. In here I've got things like receipts, business cards for the seamstress, any little bits that I need to keep hold of. I've got a card there with a little fabric sample from when we first selected the bridesmaid dresses, just that I've got everything in one place in case I need to get my hands on it. There are a couple more bigger plastic wallets at the back, just in case there's anything slightly larger than receipts and business cards that I need to keep in there. For example, at the minute I've got a sheet of paper with names on for who wanted the bus, when and where, and then I can make a note next to it if anyone's changed their mind when we get the change of dates back at the end of the year. And finally, a new addition, which some people might think is overkill. At the back I keep tucked my new wedding clipboard. Yes, I am over organised and I'm proud of it, where I have got my to-do list, which I have split into sections of people, vendors, ceremony and reception, and then it is all organised by month of when I'm going to complete each task, when things are due to be paid, when meetings or fittings are booked for, and I can just tick it off as I've done it. We're doing that much ourselves with making things and rearranging, rebooking, changing things, that I just find it so much better to have everything that needs done on one list, split across the month so that you don't forget anything, you don't miss anything, and it's really easy just to tick it off, and it feels so good when you can see things slowly getting ticked off further and further the closer you get to your date. When we first postponed our original date, we were only about 5 or 6 weeks out, and I had a to-do list for that one, and there was barely anything left on it, and it was so nice to see that list getting shorter and shorter, and it just made it even more obvious how close the wedding was getting, and that was a really good feeling. So I wanted to make sure that I had that again for this time, but I have upgraded from just having a paper list to having a clipboard because it just makes me happy. So that is everything that is included in my binder. Like I say, this won't be something everyone is interested in, but a lot of people did say they would be interested in it when I asked a few weeks ago on my stories, and it was the video that people voted for when I put up the poll for this week's video. I can't find a planner that they're happy with and they think this seems like an overwhelming idea. It really isn't. Just give it a try. It's so simple and you might be really happy with the outcome because you'll have something that's got everything you need without any wasted space of stuff you've just got no interest in or that has no relevance to your day. I hope some of you out there have found this interesting. I've actually really enjoyed going through it and talking to you about it. The other option that I did put up about my top 10 DIY wedding tips, I will be doing that video for those that voted for that one, and that'll be coming in 2 weeks' time. So if you weren't interested in this one, do check back then because it will be here. Thanks so much for watching and I'll see you next time.